So I'm really grateful for Dave Ramsey because he showed that financial coaching is a thing. It's not like personal trainer where it's very mainstream. Now, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he teaches, and I'm going to get into that right now. So I'm going to start off talking about the radio show. I think the radio show is pretty cool and it is entertaining. And shoot, I wouldn't mind having my own radio show, having people call in and whatnot. But I do think that people should take his advice with a grain of salt because it's only like what, less than 5 minutes per person. There's no way that he can know all the information about a person to give an accurate and like to give good advice. So I'm always very like hopeful that people don't like take what he says and run with it because like I said, he doesn't know all about your life. He doesn't know the nuances. And so that's why I think that having a real financial coach is worth it in that situation. And he has a whole bunch of people under his program as financial coaches. But just be aware that if you get a financial coach under Dave Ramsey, they're going to follow his methodology. So if you like his methodology, go ahead. If you want something different, then definitely explore other options, okay? So the next thing I don't necessarily agree with Dave Ramsey is his baby steps. So number one, I definitely do agree with him. Save at least $1,000 in an emergency fund. That is, yes, definitely do that before anything else. Because if anything were to happen and you don't have that, you're just gonna go deeper into debt. So before paying off debt, before doing anything, save at least $1,000 in your emergency fund. Number two is to pay off all debts except the house with the snowball method. The snowball method is good because it's very motivating, but not everybody is the same. In my opinion, I would suggest paying the high interest debt first. I understand money's very emotional, but if you're more logical, if you're able to stick to a plan, definitely pay off high interest debt first. You're just gonna save so much more money that way. And while you do this, I would suggest to still continue to save, right? I don't know if this is like part of the plan or not. I don't see it here. But aside from the $1,000, you should have different savings buckets for things that are coming up in the year that you know are going to happen, but catch us by surprise sometimes. So I like to have like a house maintenance fund or a car maintenance fund, a like a general events fund. So birthdays, holidays, weddings, just events that happen throughout the year. I like to have that all in a bucket where I can pull from and not have to use a credit card. Create what it is and then have a monetary goal number like $1,000 for this bucket. Like it has to have a number. And then once you reach it, go on to the next and to the next. Okay? I would recommend building up these buckets at the same time you're paying off high interest debt because like as let's say a birthday party comes along or something like that, you don't want to have to dig into your emergency fund for that or the credit cards. So number three says save 3 to 6 months expenses. I wouldn't wait until all the debt is paid off to start saving for that. Like I said, have the savings buckets. The very last bucket definitely should be 3 to 6 months expenses, but I feel like you should be doing that as well as paying the debt. Just decide how much you want to dedicate to both. But I wouldn't wait, because sometimes you need money in savings. It's going to be different for everybody though. So let's say you do pay off all your debt except for the house and you are saving these 3 to 6 months expenses. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit, right? Here it says to wait until you save that whole amount, right? A fully funded emergency fund, and then start to invest. You see, with investing, do you guys know the power of compound interest? Time is what makes it so powerful. So if you're over here waiting until you save up a fully funded emergency fund, you're missing out on so much money, and that's just facts. So I would suggest do it at the same time. Just like I said, allocate like how much you want to set in each thing. So while you're saving up those 3 to 6 months expenses, also invest some of that as well. But in my opinion, you should only start investing after you have the high interest debt paid off, after you have your emergency fund, after you have your savings buckets. All right. This is only when you're building up that big boy emergency fund, right? That 3 to 6 months expenses, because you should already have so much money saved up at this point that it's okay to start investing. Now, this isn't advice, this is my opinion. But yeah, you don't want to miss out on precious, precious time. That's the name of the game when it comes to investing is time. You want to get started as early as humanly possible. When it comes to what to invest in, of course, he's going to tell you to invest in the stock market. Stock market is not my favorite way to invest because it's just too much of this. Like, I don't know, I just don't get a really great feeling about the stock market. I do have other things, like I do have a high cash value life insurance policy that I borrow against, put it back, borrow against, and it just keeps going up. So I love that. There's other options as well, but yeah, 529 plan. I would suggest an IUL for that. But like I said, everyone's different. For the majority of people, I think the stock market is good because it's just easy. So I would suggest like get into that. If you're not ready to go into the rabbit hole of other options, just do the stock market. Be smart about it though. Now I will make another video on how to invest yourself for the optimum benefit. Like I said, not financial advice, but it's a cool strategy, okay? And then the last one is build wealth and give generously. Love that. God is so generous with us. Let's be generous with others. For the most part, this list isn't horrible, but I do think that people shouldn't be so rigid with it. Do 2 things at once and decide how you want to go about it, but don't feel like you have to follow this to a T. Last thing I want to say that I don't agree with him about is the whole debt thing. I don't necessarily think everyone should pay off their home early, especially if the interest is so low. An interesting strategy is to get a HELOC, borrow against the equity, and buy another house, and then start building a rental portfolio. You got to be smart because Dave Ramsey built his wealth off of real estate. So why isn't he advising people to get into real estate? Now, I'm not saying everyone should, but I'm saying that he should tell people the options are there for those people that are, more risk adverse and can, I don't know if that's the right use of that word. The people that are more open to taking more risk for higher reward. Like, okay, we all know he did not gain his wealth from the stock market alone. And that's pretty much the only thing he's advising people to do here is just do stock market. I do think it's important to mention the difference between good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is consumer debt on like credit cards, all that stuff. Good debt, wealthy people call that leverage. It's debt basically used to buy assets, and it's great debt because the asset pays off the debt itself. And after the debt is paid, you keep the cash flow. You keep 100% of the cash flow indefinitely. So that is why we should definitely use that good debt. But I don't know if he teaches all that. But anyways, Dave Ramsey's cool. He definitely, I think, paved the way for a lot of us financial coaches. I do like his very stern, very like he reminds me of my dad a little bit. Just very, like I don't know, no nonsense type. I feel like that's very good for people to learn from. I'm very different in my approach. I'm not as intense. I'm more chill, I guess, but not everyone resonates with that. So it's definitely good that we have different personalities for different things. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you follow Dave Ramsey or if you've veered away a little bit. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, God bless.